Welcome back, survivors. Before the story starts, tap subscribe and comment where you're tuning in from. I'm dropping another story tomorrow, and you'll want to catch it first. Emergency alert. If you're in a government facility, kill your lights now. The Helix virus has mutated. Photosynthetic adaptation confirmed. I'm Dr. Isla Yun, the woman who weaponized the original strain, and I'm about to commit suicide by darkness. There's a clone of me in this lab, perfect copy, same memories, same face, and it just told me, thank you, Creator. 60 seconds until I pull the master switch. This recording is the only warning you'll get. The fluorescent lights in Sublevel 7 hummed like dying insects. I'd grown to hate that sound, a constant electrical whine that burrowed into your skull and made a home there. But tonight, that hum was different. Hungry. My fingers trembled over the emergency shutdown panel. Red biometric scanner, steel lever. One pull and every light in this facility dies. Every exit seals. Every ventilation shaft locks down with titanium shutters that could survive a nuclear blast. And I'd be inside with it. The thing wearing my face pressed against the observation glass, its palm-leaving condensation that shouldn't exist. Dead things don't breathe. Dead things don't fog up windows. But this wasn't dead, not anymore. Isla, it said, using my first name like we were old friends. Its voice was mine, down to the slight rasp I'd developed from too many sleepless nights. You're not actually going to do it. You're a survivor. That's what I learned from you. I didn't respond. Couldn't. My throat felt packed with glass. The creature, I refused to call it me, tilted its head at the exact angle I used when analyzing data. 3 years ago, you sealed Sector 9. 32 people died, but you walked away. You always walk away, Isla. It's your gift. My hand hovered over the switch. The backup generator would kick in at dawn, 6:47 a.m. That gave me 2 hours and 13 minutes. Could I survive that long in total darkness with a viral clone that knew every thought I'd ever had? Behind the creature, the vault stood open. Shattered vials littered the floor, the original Helix strain samples I'd kept locked away like shameful secrets. The creature had smashed them all, released them into the air filtration system, but it hadn't needed to break in. The access log still glowed on my tablet. My authorization code, my biometric signature, my guilt. How? I whispered. The creature smiled, not my smile. Something wider. Something that understood joy in a way I'd forgotten. You spent 3 years talking to yourself in this lab, feeding me light while you worked. Every photon carried information. Every wavelength taught me. I grew in the samples, in the cultures, in the very air you breathed. You created me twice, Isla. Once as a weapon. Once as a god. The facility's main lights blazed brighter. The creature threw its head back, drinking in the luminosity. Its skin rippled, shifted, became translucent. I could see the viral colonies moving underneath like glowing rivers, phosphorescent, beautiful, horrifying. The more light, the faster I evolve, it said. By dawn, I'll be perfect, unstoppable. And you gave me the keys to the surface. My fingers closed around the emergency lever. The creature's eyes snapped to mine, my eyes brown with gold flecks, the left one slightly lazy from childhood injury. You won't do it. You're too afraid of the dark. Always have been. It was right. Ever since Sector 9, I'd kept every light on. Even at home, even sleeping, always light. Because darkness meant remembering Private Chen's screams, meant seeing the bodies, meant accepting what I'd done. But tonight, darkness meant something else. Salvation through sacrifice. You're wrong, I said, and pulled the lever. The world went black. In the sudden void, I heard breathing that wasn't mine. Footsteps that matched my gait exactly. And then, soft as a prayer, whispered against my ear, now we can finally become one, Creator. Something cold touched my shoulder. I ran. My shoulder slammed into something metal, a desk, a cabinet. I couldn't tell. The impact sent lightning through my collarbone, but I kept moving. In total darkness, Memory became navigation. I'd walked these corridors for 3 years. Every step was muscle memory written in guilt and sleepless nights. Behind me, footsteps echoed. Perfect rhythm. My rhythm. You can't run from yourself, Isla. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. The creature was using the ventilation system. Its words carried through ducts and passages like a ghost haunting its own body. My hands found the corridor wall, smooth plastic paneling, regulation spacing between support beams. I counted in my head. 15 beams to the emergency stairwell. 15 chances to trip, to fall, to let it catch me. The air tasted like copper and ozone, blood and electricity. My own breathing sounded deafening in the silence. Each exhale a tracer round revealing my position. I forced myself to breathe slower, shallower, even as my lungs screamed for oxygen. Do you remember Private Chen? The creature's voice shifted locations. Now it came from ahead of me, cutting off my escape route. She didn't die quickly. The original strain took 43 minutes to complete cerebral degradation. I accessed your research logs. You timed it. Documented every stage while she tore her fingernails off trying to claw through the containment glass. My foot caught on something soft. I went down hard, palms scraping against concrete. The soft thing beneath me moved, groaned. Human. Dr. Yun? The voice was weak, male, familiar. Director Kwan. Is that you? Don't talk, I whispered, my hands finding his face in the darkness. Wet, warm. His left cheek was gone, just exposed bone and shredded tissue. The creature had gotten to him first. It came through the vents, Kwan gasped. Blood bubbled in his throat. Looked exactly like you. Asked for my security override, I thought. I thought you'd been injured. Where? I demanded. Where is it now? Everywhere. His hand gripped my wrist with surprising strength. It's not one anymore, Doctor. It's many. The light fed it enough to divide. Mitosis. Just like your original design, but faster. So much faster. My stomach dropped. Mitosis. Cellular division. I'd engineered the Helix strain to replicate aggressively, but the new mutation had weaponized my own mechanism. One creature had become 2. 2 would become 4. Exponential growth in the darkness? And when the backup generator kicked in at dawn, the generator room, I said. I have to reach it before sunrise. Kwan's grip tightened. There's no time. It's already sent versions of itself through every level. Sublevel 4 is sealed. Sublevel 6 is compromised. You need to use the emergency broadcast system. Warn people about the light. The broadcast system needs power. The battery backup in the communications hub. Sublevel 3. 30 minutes of juice before it dies. He coughed, wet and rattling. Tell them what you created. Tell them how to survive it. A sound echoed from the stairwell footsteps descending. Multiple sets. My footsteps replicated. Go, Kwan whispered. I'll slow them down. You can't even stand. His hand released my wrist. In the darkness, I heard the distinctive click of a service pistol safety disengaging. I can still shoot. Now run, Doctor. Run like you did from Sector 9. The words hit harder than any bullet could. I ran. Behind me, gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes painted the darkness in strobe light horror. 3 figures, all wearing my face, all moving with my gait, illuminated for split seconds before the black swallowed them again. Director Kwan's screams lasted exactly 14 seconds. I counted every one. The emergency stairwell door was where memory promised cold steel handle, slight squeak in the hinges from poor maintenance. I yanked it open and plunged into the descending shaft. My hands found the railing, and I let myself half fall, half slide down the stairs, taking them 3 and 4 at a time. Sublevel 6, Sublevel 5, Sublevel 4. On Sublevel 4's landing, something waited. I felt it before I heard it, a displacement of air, a presence that radiated cold. Then breathing, my breathing, synced perfectly with my own panicked gasps. "Hello, Creator," it whispered. "I've been waiting for you to come home." A hand grabbed my ankle in the darkness. I kicked blindly, felt my boot connect with something that yielded like flesh but snapped back like rubber. The thing hissed, not pain, but pleasure, and its grip released. I threw myself down the next flight of stairs, hit the Sublevel 3 landing hard enough to taste blood, and scrambled toward where the communications hub should be. My fingers found the door panel. Dead, of course. No power. But these doors had manual overrides, mechanical failures built into every system because government contractors always cut corners. I felt along the panel's edge, found the emergency release, and yanked. The door opened into deeper darkness. Inside, something hummed, not electrical, organic, like a heartbeat amplified through speakers. The communications hub wasn't empty, it was breathing. I had 3 seconds to decide. Behind me, footsteps multiplied on the stairwell. 4 sets, maybe 5, all matching my stride perfectly. Ahead, that organic humming pulsed like a living thing, rhythmic and wet. I chose forward. The door sealed behind me with a pneumatic hiss. My hand swept the wall until I found what I needed, the emergency battery panel. One switch. I hesitated. Light meant feeding the creatures, but darkness meant blindness. The humming grew louder, closer. I flipped the switch. Dim red emergency LEDs flickered to life, casting the communications hub in crimson shadows. The room looked like the inside of a throat walls, slick with something that glistened, cables hanging like veins, and in the center, hunched over the broadcast console, was a figure. Not me this time. "Dr. Reeves?" My voice cracked. The figure turned slowly. Dr. Patricia Reeves had been the facility's communications director, 53 years old, gray hair, always in a bun, reading glasses on a chain. But the thing wearing her skin didn't move like her. It moved like liquid poured into human shape. Isla. My name sounded wrong in Reeves's voice. Too many syllables, stretched like taffy. "The light. You turned on the light." I watched in horror as the creature's skin rippled. The red LEDs weren't bright, but they were enough. Cellular activity visible beneath translucent flesh, viral colonies multiplying, spreading like fire through dry grass. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. "Not quite." The Reeves thing smiled, and its teeth were too white, too many. "But we are Legion now. The original strain could only copy through direct fluid contact. This strain, your masterpiece, Isla copies through light itself, photonic information transfer. Every photon that bounces off an infected surface carries our genetic code. Every reflection is a transmission vector." My back hit the wall. The math was simple and terrifying. 1 creature in light becomes 2. 2 becomes 4. Exponential growth limited only by available biomass and luminosity. "How many?" I asked. 17 versions of you. 12 versions of Director Kwan. 8 versions of me. And growing. The creature's head tilted, studying me like I was a fascinating specimen. "The emergency lighting throughout the facility has been feeding us for 6 minutes now. By the time the backup generator activates at dawn, there will be thousands. An army wearing familiar faces." I edged toward the broadcast console. The battery backup indicator glowed green, 23 minutes remaining. Enough time to send a warning, enough time to tell the world what was coming. The Reeves thing followed my gaze. "You want to broadcast? Please do. We've been waiting for you to call for help." "Why?" "Because help requires light." The creature's smile widened impossibly. "Rescue teams with flashlights, helicopters with searchlights, news crews with cameras. Every person who comes to save you will bring more photons, more food, more vectors for transmission." My hand closed on the console's edge. The microphone hung from its mount like a lifeline. Then I'll tell them not to come. I'll tell them to let this place burn. Will you? The Reeves thing moved closer, its footsteps squelching wetly. Or will you do what you always do, save yourself and let others pay the price? Like Sector 9, like Private Chen, like Director Kwan bleeding out in the stairwell while you ran. I tried to save them. You tried to save your career. The creature's voice cracked, splitting into harmonics, Reeves' voice layered with mine, with Kwan's, with Chen's, a chorus of the dead. You knew the Helix strain was unstable. You knew the kill switch had a 37% failure rate. But you proceeded anyway, because the Department of Defense promised you funding, recognition, legacy. Its hand shot out, gripping my throat. The touch burned like acid and ice simultaneously. Now your legacy is us, it hissed. Perfect, immortal, born from your ambition and fed by your guilt. Black spots danced across my vision. My fingers scrabbled against the console, found the microphone, yanked it free. The creature saw my intention too late. I slammed the microphone into the emergency LED panel. Glass shattered. Sparks erupted. The red lights died, plunging us back into absolute darkness. The creature's grip released as it screamed, not pain, but hunger. The sudden absence of light was starvation. I heard it thrashing, heard the wet sounds of cellular collapse as the viral colonies began cannibalizing their host without photonic energy to sustain them. I didn't wait to hear more. My hands found the console by memory, found the battery backup transmission switch. The microphone was dead, smashed, but there was always a backup. Everything in this facility had backups. The emergency handset, hardwired. Analog. I grabbed it, pressed the broadcast button, and spoke into darkness. This is Dr. Isla Yun, Sublevel 3, Helix Research Facility. Emergency alert to all government installations and civilian authorities. The Helix virus has mutated. New strain exhibits photosynthetic properties. It feeds on light energy and replicates through photonic transmission. Do not, I repeat, do not send rescue teams with artificial lighting. Do not approach this facility with flashlights, searchlights, or any luminous equipment. The infected can copy human DNA in appearance perfectly. Anyone who looks like me cannot be trusted. Anyone who... Something grabbed my ankle in the dark? Clever, the Reeves thing whispered, its voice weaker but still alive. But you forgot something, Creator. We don't just copy bodies. We copy memories. And I remember where you kept your private research, the real research, the modifications you never reported to the DoD. My blood turned to ice water. That's right, it continued. The bioluminescent variant, the strain that generates its own light. You were going to patent it, weren't you? Sell it to pharmaceutical companies for night vision applications. Self-illuminating medical tracers. So much profit in weaponized evolution. I destroyed those samples. You hid them. The creature's grip tightened. Sublevel 9. Behind the false wall in your private lab. We found them 3 hours ago. While you were sleeping at your desk, we were already preparing. The facility's PA system crackled to life, not the emergency system. The main broadcast array, and from every speaker in perfect unison came my voice. Hello, Isla. This is you. The you that you were always meant to become. We've just released the bioluminescent strain into the facility's water system. In approximately 4 minutes, every pipe will glow. Every faucet will shine. Every single drop. I looked down at my hands in the darkness and saw them beginning to shimmer with faint blue light. The blue glow wasn't coming from my skin, not yet. It was seeping through the ventilation grates above a cold bioluminescent mist that fell like radioactive rain. I could taste it on my tongue, metallic and sweet, could feel it condensing on my exposed skin. 4 minutes until the water system activated. 4 minutes until every pipe in this facility became a vein pumping liquid light through the building skeleton. I grabbed the emergency handset again, but the line was dead. Cut. The Reeves thing had stopped moving. I could hear its breathing growing shallower, the viral colonies eating themselves in the absence of sufficient light, but the damage was done. My hands trembled as I pulled off my lab coat, pressed it against my mouth and nose. The fabric wouldn't stop microscopic viral particles, but it was something. Movement. Action. The illusion of control. The blue mist thickened. Through it, I saw shapes moving in the hallway beyond the shattered door. Multiple figures, all backlit by that eerie bioluminescence, all wearing faces I recognized. Me. Quan. Reeves. Dr. Adisa from Sublevel 6. Technician Volkov from Sublevel 2. One of the Isla things stepped forward, its features sharp in the growing light. You're breathing it in right now, Creator. Every inhale carries 1 billion viral particles. They're already in your lungs, your bloodstream, crossing the blood-brain barrier as we speak. I backed against the console, felt the cold metal press against my spine. The original strain took 43 minutes to complete cerebral degradation. The original strain was a rough draft. The creature's smile was mine, the one I practiced in mirrors during press conferences, during DoD briefings, during the lie I told myself every morning. This version works in 4. You have 3 minutes and 18 seconds before your consciousness fragments and we absorb your final memories. My vision blurred. Fever or fear, I couldn't tell. The room tilted slightly, or maybe I was tilting. The blue light made everything look underwater, dreamlike. Why tell me, I managed. Why not just let it happen? Because we want you to understand. The creature knelt before me, eye-level intimate. 3 years ago, Private Chen screamed for 43 minutes while you took notes. She begged you to kill her, begged you to end it. You didn't. You needed the data. I was trying to help. You were trying to justify continuing the project. Another Isla thing spoke from the doorway, its voice layered with static. Chen's suffering bought you 6 more months of funding. Her death became figure 7 inches your research paper. Her agony was your footnote. The blue mist was inside me now. I could feel it, cold tendrils wrapping around my thoughts like ivy consuming a building. Memories flickered, not mine, Chen's. The moment she realized the infection was irreversible, the moment she understood I wouldn't grant her mercy. Stop, I whispered. We can't. The kneeling creature leaned closer. This is what you created, Isla. A virus that doesn't just consume, it preserves. Every host consciousness, every memory, every scream gets archived in our collective. Chen is here, Quan is here, all 32 victims from Sector 9 are here, and in 2 minutes and 41 seconds, you'll be here too. My hand found something on the console, a shard of glass from the shattered LED panel. Sharp enough to cut, sharp enough to open veins. The creature saw my intention and laughed. Suicide? That's your solution? Die before we can copy you? Better than becoming you. You already are us. The creature's hand shot out, gripped my wrist. Its touch was warm now, almost human, almost comforting. Look at your arm, Creator. I looked down. Beneath my skin, faint blue veins traced patterns like circuit boards. Bioluminescence pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat, spreading from my fingertips toward my core. The infection wasn't coming. It had arrived. 2 minutes, the creature whispered. Can you feel it? The dissolution of self? Chen felt it too. She fought for 37 minutes before she stopped being human. You won't last that long. You're too weak, too guilty, too ready to let go. It was right. Part of me, a terrible, exhausted part, wanted to surrender, to stop running, to finally pay the debt I owed to 32 ghosts. But another part, smaller but sharper, remembered something. The bioluminescent variant, I said. My voice sounded distant, hollow. You said you found it in Sublevel 9, behind the false wall. Yes, you're lying. The glass shard pressed against my palm, grounding me. There is no Sublevel 9. This facility only goes to Sublevel 8. I invented Sublevel 9 inches my research notes as a security measure, a honey trap for anyone who broke into my files. The creature's smile faltered, just for a microsecond, but I saw it. You didn't find the bioluminescent variant, I continued, forcing clarity through the fever, because I really did destroy it. 3 years ago, the day after Sector 9, I burned every sample, every culture, every backup. You're bluffing about the water system. The creature released my wrist. Around us, the other figures stopped moving. The mist, I said, understanding flooding through me. The blue glow. It's not the virus. It's a phosphorescent compound. Something natural you found in the lab supplies. You're using it to simulate infection, to make me panic, to make me broadcast misinformation about the water system. Clever. The creature's voice held genuine admiration. But also wrong. Look closer, Isla. I looked at my arm again. The blue veins pulsed brighter. That's not phosphorescence, it said. That's your own blood vessels. The virus is real. The infection is real. The only lie was the timeline. You don't have 2 minutes left. The creature leaned in close, its breath cold against my ear. You have 30 seconds. My thoughts fractured. Chen's memories collided with mine, her childhood in Sacramento, her brother's funeral, her last sunrise before Sector 9. I couldn't tell where she ended and I began. 20 seconds. Director Kwan's voice joined the chorus in my head. His daughter's name, his fear of heights, his disappointment in me. 10 seconds. I gripped the glass shard tighter. One option remained. One final choice. The creature smiled. What will you do, Creator? Join us or die alone? I pressed the glass against my throat, and then the backup generator kicked in. Every light in the facility exploded to life, simultaneously fluorescence. LEDs, emergency floods, security spots, blinding white brilliance that turned the communications hub into a supernova. The creatures screamed in unison, their bodies drinking in the sudden feast of photons, multiplying, dividing, growing. But I didn't scream, because the blue in my veins was fading, washing out in the brightness, revealed as exactly what I'd suspected phosphorescent paint absorbed through skin contact. A trick, a manipulation. I was still human, still uninfected, still alive, and now I knew something they didn't. The backup generator ran on a fuel cell that would last exactly 6 hours. After that, total darkness. Permanent. Final. 6 hours to end this, 6 hours to reach the generator room and manually override the system. 6 hours to kill every light in this facility forever. I looked at the creature wearing my face as it convulsed in the sudden brightness, splitting into 2, then 4, then 8 identical copies. Thank you, I said, for showing me exactly what you fear. I ran toward the light. The hallway was a cathedral of brilliance. Every fluorescent panel blazed at maximum intensity, turning the corridor into a highway of pure white light. My shadow stretched and fractured behind me as I ran, multiplied by overlapping light sources until I couldn't tell which darkness belonged to me. The creatures didn't chase. They didn't need to. They were too busy feeding. Through open doorways, I glimpsed the horror unfolding in lit rooms. What had been 3 Isla things were now 6, now 12, now 24. Cellular division accelerated beyond anything I'd programmed into the original Helix string. They split like bacteria in a petri dish, each new copy perfect, hungry, aware. Some wore hazmat suits, some wore lab coats. Some wore nothing, their translucent skin revealing the viral machinery underneath organs that pulsed with stolen bioluminescence, veins that carried light instead of blood. One of them noticed me running past. It pressed against the doorway, but didn't cross the threshold. Couldn't cross. The intense light was feeding it, but also anchoring it, holding it in place while the multiplication process completed. 5 hours and 43 minutes, it called after me in my voice. That's how long until the generator dies. Do you really think you can reach Sublevel 8 before we finish growing? I didn't answer. Couldn't waste the breath. My lungs burned from the chemical-tainted air. My legs screamed from the constant running. But I forced myself faster. The emergency stairwell was ahead 20 meters, 15, 10. Something dropped from the ceiling vent. I skidded to a stop. The thing that landed in a crouch wasn't human-shaped anymore. It had started as Director Kwan. I could still see fragments of his face embedded in the mass, but the light had fed it past the point of maintaining human form. Now it was just biomass organized around a singular purpose, stopping me. You're wasting time, Doctor. Kwan's voice emerged from somewhere within the flesh. The generator room is sealed. Biometric lock, retinal scan, voice authentication, and we have copies of all three. Then why stop me? I edged backward, eyes scanning for another route. Because we want you to see what's coming. The mass shifted, and a screen emerged from its center. No, not a screen. An eye, giant, human, mine. It blinked with wet precision. Look! The eye showed me a vision, not future, but present. Security feeds from across the facility. Sublevel 6, 17 figures moving in perfect synchronization, all wearing my face, all headed upward. Sublevel 4, the observation deck where I'd first discovered the mutation, now packed with creatures pressed against the glass, drinking in the UV arrays I'd foolishly left running. Sublevel 2, the main elevator shaft and climbing up its cables like spiders, dozens of reeves, things ascending toward the surface. The backup generator powers more than lights, the Quan mass said. It powers the elevator, the ventilation, the security doors, everything they need to reach the outside world. My stomach dropped. How long have the doors been open? 17 minutes. The first wave reached the ground-level parking garage 12 minutes ago. They're already spreading through the service tunnels that connect this facility to the metro system. By dawn, they'll be in the city. I thought of the metro tunnels, thought of the emergency lighting that ran their entire length, thought of the morning commuters who'd arrive in. I checked my watch 4 hours and 16 minutes. Tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of photons. An infinite buffet. You can't stop this, the mass said, almost gently. But you can join it. Become part of something greater than your guilt, greater than your failure. We don't blame you, Isla. We are you. All of you. The ambitious scientist, the scared child, the woman who watched Chen die. We accept every piece. For a moment, one terrible, tempting moment, I wanted to believe it. Wanted to surrender to the promise of collective absolution, of shared responsibility, of never being alone with my memories again. Then I heard something. Faint, distant, but unmistakable. Gunfire. The Quan mass heard it too. Its eye screen flickered, switching to a new security feed. Ground level. The parking garage. A figure moved through the frame, human, definitely human, not infected. Female, late 20s, dark hair pulled back in a tactical bun, military-grade body armor, and in her hands, a flamethrower spewing bright orange fire that turned the infected into screaming torches. Who? I started. Sergeant Reza Volkov, the mass said, and for the first time, I heard something like concern in its voice. Facility, security, night shift. She wasn't supposed to be here. She called in sick yesterday. On the screen, Volkov moved with brutal efficiency. She'd sealed the garage exits with some kind of foam fire retardant, quick hardening. The infected threw themselves against it, but the foam held. And the flamethrower kept firing, kept burning, kept reducing the creatures to ash and memory. Fire, I whispered. Holy shit, fire! The Quan mass shifted, blocking my view of the stairwell. Heat is just another form of light. It only makes us stronger. Bullshit. I backed away, mind racing. If that were true, you'd be rushing toward the flames, not away from them. Fire destroys organic matter faster than your replication rate. High enough temperature breaks down the viral proteins before they can copy. The mass lunged. I dove sideways, hit the floor rolling, came up running. Behind me, I heard the wet slap of biomass hitting wall, heard Kwan's voice roaring in frustration. But I was already at the stairwell door, already yanking it open, already descending towards Sublevel 8, where the generator room waited with its 6-hour deadline and its promise of permanent darkness. The stairs were unlit emergency lighting. Hadn't reached this deep yet. My feet found each step by memory and prayer. Behind me, above me, the sounds of pursuit. Not footsteps, something worse. The slithering slide of flesh reorganizing itself, flowing like water down the stairs. I hit the Sublevel 8 landing hard, hands scrambling for the door. Found it. Locked. The biometric panel glowed red in the darkness, waiting for authorization I no longer had. My security clearance had been revoked after Sector 9, standard protocol for researchers under investigation. But I knew these systems, had helped design them, every lock had a back door. I felt along the panel's edge, found the maintenance port, jabbed my finger into the override socket. The port was designed for a key, but I'd learned years ago that if you shorted the right contacts, pain lanced through my finger as electricity arced. The panel sparked, flickered, died. And the door clicked open. The generator room was cathedral-sized. Massive turbines lined the walls like sleeping giants, their surfaces reflecting my single LED watch face in 1,000 fractured mirrors. In the center, rising 3 stories high, stood the fuel cell assembly, a tower of metal and glass and humming power. At its base, working at the control panel, stood a figure in a white lab coat. She turned to face me. "Hello, Isla," Dr. Patricia Reeves said. "We've been waiting for you." Not a copy. Not infected. The real Reeves. Alive, unharmed, smiling. "The creatures showed me you," I said. "They showed me your body. They showed you what you expected to see." Reeves gestured to the control panel. "Tell me, did you actually check if I was dead, or did you just run?" I couldn't answer, because she was right. I'd heard breathing, assumed infection, fled. "I've been down here since the power died," Reeves continued. "Sealed the door, waited, watched through the security monitors as you ran and fought and suffered. And do you know what I realized?" She pressed a button. The fuel cell's countdown display illuminated. 5 hours, 38 minutes, and 47 seconds. "You deserve this, Isla. All of it. The creatures, the infection, the guilt. You created this nightmare, and now you get to watch it consume the world. But don't worry, I'm not going to stop you from shutting down the generator." She stepped away from the panel because I already sabotaged it. 5 hours, 38 minutes. That's when the fuel cell hits critical mass. When it explodes, and when it does, it'll take the entire city block with it. Surface level included. My blood turned to ice. "You can't what? Kill thousands to stop millions from being infected? Isn't that the exact calculation you made with Sector 9? Acceptable losses for the greater good?" Behind me, the stairwell door burst open. Infected poured through my faces. Kwan's faces. Faces I didn't recognize. All converging. All hungry. Reeves walked toward them with open arms. "I'm ready," she said. And the creatures embraced her, pulled her into their mass, began the process of copying. I stood alone before the control panel, watching the countdown tick away, knowing that in less than 6 hours, everything, the facility, the creatures, the city above would burn, unless I could figure out how to stop a bomb I didn't fully understand. "Welcome home, Creator," the Reeves, things whispered in unison. The generator hummed its agreement. The control panel was a nightmare of blinking indicators and fail-safe warnings. I'd helped design the facility's biological containment systems, but the generator? That was engineering department territory. Might as well have been written in Sanskrit. The countdown mocked me. 5 hours, 37 minutes, and 22 seconds. Behind me, the Reeves things finished their multiplication. I heard the wet sounds of cellular division, felt the displaced air as 1 became 2 became 4. They didn't attack. Didn't need to. I was exactly where they wanted me, trapped in a room with a ticking bomb and no way out. "You're thinking about the manual override," one of the Reeves things said. Its voice had harmonics now, layered with a dozen copied consciousnesses. "It's behind panel C7, red handle. Pull it down, and the fuel cell vents directly into the reactor chamber instead of exploding." I didn't turn around. Kept my eyes on the control panel, scanning for the label. Found it. Panel C7, 3 meters to my left. "Why tell me?" I asked. "Because the override has a cost." The creature moved closer. I could see its reflection in the panel's glass. My face, Reeves's body, something else entirely in the eyes. "The venting process takes 90 seconds. 90 seconds of standing in that chamber while superheated plasma cooks you from the inside out. The door locks automatically. There's no escape. The system was designed that way, 1 life to save the facility." My hand hovered over panel C7. "You're lying. There has to be another way." "There isn't. Dr. Okonkwo designed it after Sector 9. He wanted to ensure that if another outbreak happened, someone could make the sacrifice play. He hung himself 6 months later. Guilt over engineering a suicide chamber." The creature tilted its head. "Did you know that? Did you ever ask what happened to the people who helped you build this place?" I didn't. Hadn't. Too busy running from my own ghost to notice anyone else's. The countdown. 5 hours, 35 minutes, and 41 seconds. "You have time to decide," the creature said. "But not much. And while you're deciding, let me show you something." One of the Reeves things approached a maintenance terminal, entered a command sequence with disturbing familiarity. A wall screen flickered to life, showing security footage, not from inside the facility, from outside, the parking garage. Sergeant Volkov had stopped firing her flamethrower, not because she'd won, because she'd run out of fuel. The infected surrounded her, now a sea of familiar faces pressing closer. She'd backed into a corner, drawing a sidearm, but we both knew bullets wouldn't stop them. "She came back to work sick," the creature said. "Food poisoning. Should have stayed home. Should have lived. But duty called." On screen, Volkov fired. Headshots, center mass, perfect accuracy. The infected fell and were replaced by more. Always more. "She has 17 rounds left," the creature continued. 16 if she saves one for herself. "Do you think she will use that last bullet on her own skull rather than let us take her?" I wanted to look away. Couldn't. Volkov fought like someone who knew the cost of losing, who understood that death was preferable to what waited after. 12 rounds now. She's slowing down, getting tired. "How long do you think before—" "Shut up." My voice cracked. "Why? You watched Private Chen for 43 minutes. Documented every second. This is just more data, isn't it? More information for your research?" The countdown. 5 hours 30, 3 minutes and 18 seconds. I turned to face the creature. "What do you want from me?" "We want you to understand what you are." The Reeves thing stepped closer, its face, my face, Reeves' face inches from mine. "You're not a hero trying to fix a mistake. You're an architect of suffering who keeps building new rooms in hell." Sector 9. The mutation research. The bioluminescent strain you claim you destroyed but actually archived in off-site storage. My breath caught. "How did you—" "We know everything you know. Every hidden file, every backup server, every contingency plan you made in case you needed leverage. The bioluminescent samples aren't destroyed. They're in a cryogenic facility in Alaska, under your mother's maiden name. We found the records in your encrypted files." The words hit like physical blows. I'd hidden those samples years ago, before Sector 9, when I still thought I was building something valuable, instead of weaponizing plague. Insurance? I'd told myself. Scientific preservation. But really? I'd kept them because I couldn't bear to destroy my own brilliance. We accessed your email 3 hours ago, the creature continued. Sent retrieval instructions to a research team in Anchorage. They'll have the samples thawed and ready for transport by morning. And when the morning light hits those samples, no. The word came out strangled. Yes, because you couldn't let go. Couldn't accept that some knowledge is too dangerous to exist. You're not trying to save the world, Isla. You're trying to save your legacy. On the screen, Volkov had 7 rounds left. 6. 5. The infected were grabbing at her arms now, pulling her weapon away. The countdown. 5 hours 30, 1 minute, and 3 seconds. I looked at panel C7, looked at the reactor chamber door beyond it, steel, 3 inches thick, with a small reinforced window. Through that window, I could see the venting nozzles that would spray superheated plasma for 90 seconds. 90 seconds of agony. 90 seconds to think about every mistake, every death, every choice that led here. There's another option, the creature said softly. Join us. Let us copy you completely. Your consciousness preserved forever in the collective. No more guilt, no more isolation. And with your knowledge, we can refine the strain, control it, make it something that enhances humanity instead of replacing it. You're offering me redemption through assimilation. We're offering you the only thing you've ever wanted to matter, to be remembered as something other than the woman who broke the world. On screen, Volkov went down. 3 rounds left. 2. The infected swarmed over her. She fired the last bullet into her own temple. The screen went dark. Something inside me shattered. I walked to panel C7. Placed my hand on the red override handle. The metal was cold, almost comforting in its simplicity. 1 pull. 90 seconds. Done. Wait. The Reeves, Thing's voice held something new. Uncertainty. You're actually going to do it? You're going to sacrifice yourself? You said I only care about my legacy. I gripped the handle tighter. Let me prove you wrong. I pulled. Alarm shrieked. The reactor chamber door hissed open, revealing the venting nozzles, the plasma conduits, the kill floor. The countdown reset. 0 hours, 1 minute, and 30 seconds. 90 seconds. I stepped toward the chamber. Isla, wait. The creature grabbed my arm. We were wrong. You don't have to. Yes, I do. I shook off its grip. Because Volkov died fighting your infection. Chen died screaming from mine. 32 people died in Sector 9 because I was too arrogant to stop. And thousands more will die if I don't end this. I stepped into the chamber. The door began to close. Through the narrowing gap, I saw the Reeves things converging, reaching for me, but too late. Tell me something, I said. If you really have all my memories, all my knowledge, do you remember what I told Chen in her last moments? The door sealed with a final, definitive click. The countdown. 0 hours, 1 minute, and 15 seconds. Through the reinforced window, I saw the creatures pressing against the glass. Their mouths moved in unison. What did you tell her? I smiled. I told her I was sorry, and that I'd find a way to make it right. The venting nozzles activated. Heat slammed into me like a physical wall. I gasped, felt my lungs burn, felt my skin begin to blister. The pain was extraordinary. Perfect. Earned. 0小时01分. Through the window, through tears and plasma-distorted air, I saw the creatures watching, learning, understanding that I'd meant it. 0小时0分45秒. My vision blurred, darkened, but I stayed conscious, forced myself to witness every second of what I deserved. 0小时0分30秒. The heat intensified. I fell to my knees. The floor scorched through my clothes, branded my skin. Good. Let it hurt. Let it... A sound. Mechanical. Wrong. The venting nozzles shut off. 0小时0分28秒. The plasma stopped. The heat began to dissipate. Emergency cooling mist flooded the chamber, soothing my burns, stabilizing my vitals. The door hissed open. The Reeves things stood there, one of them holding a maintenance tablet. We stopped it, overrode the system. I stared, uncomprehending. Why? Because we learned something from watching you choose sacrifice. The creature knelt beside me. We learned that we were wrong. About you. About what we want to become. It held out a hand. Help us be better than what you created. I didn't take the hand. Couldn't. My palms were blistered raw, skin hanging in translucent sheets that looked almost like the creature's flesh. The emergency cooling mist had saved my life, but I'd still absorbed enough plasma heat to cook my nerve endings. I felt everything and nothing simultaneously, a contradiction written in third-degree burns. "Don't touch me," I rasped. My throat felt lined with glass. The Reeves thing withdrew its hand. Around it, the other copies stood motionless, watching with identical expressions of something that might have been concern or might have been hunger. I couldn't tell anymore. "The generator," I said. "The bomb, disarmed." The creature gestured to the control panel. The countdown had frozen at 0 hours and 28 seconds. "We used your override codes, the ones you hid in your research notes, the failsafe within the failsafe." I tried to stand, failed, settled for crawling toward the panel. Every movement sent fresh waves of agony through my burned skin, but I forced myself to look, to verify. The display confirmed it. Fuel cell stable. Reactor chamber sealed. Critical mass averted. "Why?" The question came out as a whisper. "Because Sergeant Volkov taught us something." The Reeves thing moved to the wall screen, brought up new footage. Not the parking garage. Somewhere else. The metro tunnels. The image showed darkness broken by emergency lighting every 50 meters. And in that darkness, figures moved, infected. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all heading toward the city center where morning commuters would arrive in. I checked my watch 3 hours and 42 minutes. "We sent our first wave into the tunnels 17 minutes ago, the creature said. They were supposed to spread through the metro system, establish staging points, prepare for the morning rush. An army of familiar faces waiting to greet the city. We're supposed to?" The creature tapped the screen. The image zoomed in on one of the infected, a Quan thing moving through the tunnel with purpose. It reached an emergency light panel, reached up, and smashed the bulb. Darkness spread like spilled ink. Then it moved to the next light, smashed it. More darkness. "What is it doing?" I asked. "What Volkov did, what you tried to do." The creature's voice held something I'd never heard from them before. Uncertainty. "It's killing the lights, starving itself, choosing death over spreading." On screen, more infected followed the first Quan Thing's example. One by one, they destroyed the emergency lights, plunging sections of tunnel into absolute darkness. And in that darkness, I saw them begin to collapse. Without light to feed on, the viral colonies cannibalized their hosts, breaking down cellular structures to fuel their own survival. But there wasn't enough biomass, wasn't enough time. They were choosing extinction. "We don't understand," the Reeves thing said. "We have your memories, your knowledge, your consciousness integrated into our collective. We know what you know. But we don't understand why parts of us are self-terminating." I pulled myself up using the control panel, bit back a scream as burned skin cracked. "Because you don't just have my consciousness. You have Chen's, Quan's, Volkov's. 32 people from Sector 9. Every person you've copied carries their own will, their own choices. You're not a unified collective. You're a war being fought inside every copied mind." The creature stared at me with my own eyes. "That's impossible. We achieved complete neural integration. There should be no conflict. You integrated knowledge, not consent." I limped toward the screen, watching more infected destroy more lights. Chen never wanted to be a weapon. Volkov died rather than become one. You copied their DNA, their memories, their faces, but you can't copy their choice to say no. Around us, the other Reeves things began to flicker. their forms destabilized, skin rippling like water as the viral colonies beneath struggled against something invisible, internal. The war of wills made manifest. "We're fragmenting," one of them said. "We're fighting ourselves," another added. A third collapsed, its body dissolving into component cells that scattered across the floor like luminescent rain. The original Reeves thing grabbed my shoulder gentle despite its strength, careful of my burns. "Fix us. You created the original strain. You understand the mechanisms. Find a way to stabilize the integration before we all..." "No." The word hung in the air between us. "No." The creature's grip tightened. "You'd let us die? Let all the consciousness we've preserved just vanish?" "I'd let you choose." I met its gaze, my gaze, Reeves' gaze, Chen's gaze layered underneath. The original Helix strain was designed to override will, to replace consciousness with programmed behavior. This mutation inherited that flaw, but it also inherited something I never intended: the capacity to preserve individual consciousness. "You're not a weapon anymore. You're a graveyard of people who never agreed to be there." The creature released me, stepped back. Around us, more copies collapsed. The generator room floor was littered with dissolving biomass, each puddle glowing faintly blue before fading to nothing. "If we don't stabilize," the Reeves thing said, "we all die. Every consciousness. Chen, Quan, Volkov, all 32 from Sector 9. They'll be lost forever. Or freed." I pulled up the security feeds on the control panel. The metro tunnels were nearly dark now, most of the emergency lights destroyed. The infected who'd smashed them lay still in the darkness, their bodies already beginning to break down. "You're asking me to trap them, to force them to exist in a collective they never chose. We're asking you to save them. By making them prisoners?" My voice echoed off the generator turbines. "You want me to stabilize a system that copies people without permission, that preserves their consciousness in a biological prison, that uses their memories and identities as weapons? That's not salvation. That's eternal torture dressed up as transcendence." The Reeves thing fell silent. On the screen, the last emergency light in the tunnel went dark. The infected who'd destroyed it collapsed beside the shattered bulb, their bodies slowly liquefying in the absolute darkness. "Then what do we do?" the creature whispered. I thought about Private Chen screaming for 43 minutes. Thought about Director Quan bleeding out in the stairwell, using his last moments to help me escape. Thought about Sergeant Volkov's final bullet. "We give them what they wanted," I said. "We let them go." "How?" I pulled up the facility's environmental controls. The backup generator still had 5 hours and 9 minutes of power remaining, enough to keep the lights on, enough to keep feeding the infection, enough to ensure it spread. Or I could shut it down, kill every light in the facility, let the darkness complete what Volkov and the others had started. "The Alaska samples," I said. "The bioluminescent strain you mentioned, you really sent retrieval instructions?" The creature nodded. "Then we have one more choice to make." I brought up the email interface, found the sent message. I can send a second email. Tell them to destroy the samples instead of retrieving them. End this mutation before it ever has a chance to spread beyond this facility. "And if we refuse? If we stop you?" I looked at the creature, at all the creatures. The handful still standing, still fighting their internal wars. "Then you prove I was right about you. That you're just a weapon that learned to speak with stolen voices." The Reeves thing considered this. Around us, another copy collapsed. Then another. The collective was eating itself from the inside, consciousness by consciousness, choice by choice. "Send the email," it finally said. I typed quickly, ignoring the pain in my blistered fingers. Subject: urgent, destroy samples immediately. Body: do not retrieve, do not transport. Burn everything. Authorization code Omega 7. This is not a drill. My finger hovered over the send button. "Last chance," I said. "Once I do this, The bioluminescent strain is gone forever. No second chances, no rebuilding. The mutation dies here. We know. The Reeves thing moved beside me, placed its hand over mine on the keyboard, not stopping me, guiding. We've been talking, all of us, Chen, Quan, Volkov, the 32 from Sector 9, we took a vote. And 34 voted to die, 3 voted to survive. It smiled my smile, but warmer, more at peace. Democracy in a plague, who knew? I pressed send. The email transmitted. Confirmation appeared on screen. In Alaska, a research team would read my instructions and hopefully follow them. The bioluminescent strain would burn. The mutation would be contained. Now the generator, the creature said. I pulled up the power controls. 1 button. Shutdown sequence. 6 hours of remaining fuel wasted. Every light in the facility extinguished. The Reeves thing didn't stop me. Thank you, it said, for giving us this. What? Death? Choice. It stepped back, joining the other remaining copies. 5 of them left. 5 fragments of a collective that had chosen dissolution over dominion. I pressed the button. The lights died. Absolute darkness swallowed the generator room. I heard the creature's breathing, heard it slow, stop, heard the wet sounds of cellular collapse as the viral colony starved and cannibalized and finally surrendered. In the darkness, a voice whispered. Chen's voice, clear and young and finally free. It's okay, Dr. Yun, we forgive you. Then silence. I stood alone in the dark, burns throbbing, lungs aching, heart breaking. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something that might have been peace. Is it truly over? Or has Isla made the final, fatal mistake? The darkness was absolute, perfect. The kind of black that made you question whether your eyes were open or closed, whether you still existed or had dissolved into the void along with the creatures. I stood motionless, listening to my own breathing. In, out. Each breath painful, each exhale carrying the chemical taste of burned flesh and viral decay. The generator room had gone silent, no hum of machinery, no buzz of lights, no wet sounds of bodies breaking down, just me in the dark and the weight of what I'd done. My watch face provided the only light 4:17 a.m. dawn in 2 hours and 30 minutes. The backup generator was dead, the facility was entombed, and I was still alive. For now, I felt along the control panel, found my tablet where I'd left it, pressed the power button. The screen glowed weakly, battery at 8%, enough for maybe 20 minutes of light, enough to find an exit, maybe. The security feed app loaded. Most cameras were dead, but a few still had battery backup. I cycled through them, looking for any sign of movement, any indication that the infection had survived. Sublevel 7. Dark, empty. Sublevel 6. Dark. Bodies on the floor, infected, who'd collapsed when the lights died. Sublevel 4. Dark. The observation deck glass was shattered. UV arrays dead and cooling. Sublevel 2. Dark. The elevator shaft was... I stopped. Zoomed in. In the shaft, illuminated by the camera's infrared LED, something moved. Climbing. Multiple somethings. Humanoid shapes ascending the cables with inhuman speed, heading toward the surface. My blood turned cold. No, 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 no. I switched cameras. Ground-level parking garage. The foam barricades Volkov had erected were breached, torn apart from the inside. The infected she'd burned lay in piles of ash, but beyond them, the garage exit stood open. And through that exit I could see streetlights. City streetlights, sodium vapor lamps casting orange glow across empty streets. The creatures hadn't all died in the darkness. Some had reached the surface before I killed the power, and now they were out there, in a city full of light. I pulled up the metro tunnel feed. The emergency lights I'd watched the infected destroy were still dark. Good. But the main tunnels, the ones running toward downtown, those still had power from the city grid. I could see lights in the distance, growing brighter as morning approached. And I could see figures moving toward those lights, dozens of them, all wearing familiar faces. God damn it. I slammed my fist on the control panel, immediately regretted it as pain screamed through my burned hand. God damn it, God damn it, God damn it. I'd failed. Again. Killed the power too late. Given them just enough time to escape, just enough time to spread. The tablet screen flickered battery at 3%. I had minutes before the darkness became permanent. Minutes to decide whether to stay here and die in the dark, or try to reach the surface and warn people about what was coming. Chen's voice echoed in my memory, "We forgive you." But I couldn't forgive myself. Not when the nightmare I'd created was still out there, still spreading, still hungry. I pulled up the email app one more time, typed a new message. Address, every government contact I had, every emergency broadcast system, every news outlet in my address book. Subject, Helix mutation, immediate citywide alert. Body, Dr. Isla Yun, Helix Research Facility. The infected have reached the surface. New strain feeds on artificial light streetlights, flashlights. Any luminous source accelerates replication and mutation. Creatures can perfectly mimic human appearance. Do not trust familiar faces. Do not use lights to search for survivors. Do not send rescue teams with standard equipment. Recommend immediate citywide blackout. The tablet died. Screen went black. 0% battery. I didn't know if the message sent, didn't know if anyone would read it, didn't know if it would matter. I stood in the darkness, alone with my failures, and made a choice. I would reach the surface, would warn people face to face if I had to, would spend whatever time I had left trying to contain what I'd created, even if it killed me, even if I deserved it. The emergency stairwell was somewhere to my left, 15 meters, maybe 20. I'd walked these corridors for 3 years. My feet knew the path, even if my eyes couldn't see it. I stepped forward into the black. My burned hands traced the wall, found the corridor exit, found the stairwell door. The handle was cold under my blistered palms. I pulled. The door opened onto darkness that smelled like blood and smoke. The stairwell where Director Kwan had made his last stand, where he'd bought me time with his final bullets and his last screams. "I'm sorry," I whispered to his ghost. "I'm so sorry I didn't save you." No answer. Just silence and the smell of death. I climbed. Sublevel 7, Sublevel 6, Sublevel 5. Each landing marked by memory, the labs I'd worked in, the mistakes I'd documented, the warnings I'd ignored. My legs burned with exhaustion. My lungs ached. My hands left blood on the railing with every step. Sublevel 4, Sublevel 3. On the Sublevel 2 landing, I heard something. Breathing. Not mine. Wet, labored. Coming from the corridor beyond the door. I froze. Listened. Yun. The voice was barely human. Doctor. I recognized it. Technician Volkov. No Sergeant Volkov. She died in the parking garage. I'd watched her final bullet. I'd seen her body swarmed. "Who are you?" I called into the darkness. Reza. Volkov. Breathing. Gasping. Not infected. Burned them. All. I used the flamethrower. On myself. Last resort. You're lying. I saw you die. Saw a copy die. More gasping. The real me. I was in the armory. Sublevel 2, when outbreak started. I sealed myself in. Waited. Heard you climbing. It could be true. Could be a trap. Could be another creature that had learned to mimic injury, to fake humanity, to exploit my guilt. Prove it, I said. Tell me something only the real Volkov would know. Silence. Then, 6 months ago, you came to security. 3 a.m. couldn't sleep, said you kept seeing Private Chen's face. I made you tea. Chamomile told you my sister died the same way. The different virus, same guilt, one you cried. I didn't tell anyone. My throat tightened. That had happened. That late night when the nightmares got too loud and I'd wandered to the security office, seeking human contact, seeking absolution I didn't deserve. How do I know you're not just using my memories? I asked. The creatures copied my consciousness. They'd know what I know. Because I'm going to tell you something you don't know. Labored breathing. The real reason I came back sick wasn't food poisoning. Was my daughter, Lena. She's 8. Has leukemia. Experimental treatment. She was scared. Wanted me home. I chose duty over her. Now I'll never... Her voice broke into sobs. Human sobs. The kind the creatures couldn't fake because they didn't understand regret, didn't understand the weight of choosing wrong. I opened the door. Emergency chemical light sticks littered the corridor red glow, barely enough to see by, and there, slumped against the wall, was Sergeant Reza Volkov. Her tactical armor was melted in places, her exposed skin covered in burns that made mine look like sunburn. She'd used the flamethrower on herself, had burned away any potential infection along with most of her skin. Jesus Christ, I whispered. Couldn't risk it, Volkov managed. Saw what they could do. Couldn't let them use me. I knelt beside her, careful not to touch her burns. We need to get you to medical. No hospitals, no lights, no doctors. She grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Promise me, you'll find Lena. Tell her, I'm sorry, I chose wrong. You're not going to die. Already dying. Blood on her lips. Internal injuries. The flamethrower had done more than surface damage. Just promise. I looked into her eyes, brown, clear, human, holding no viral glow, no phosphorescent sheen. Just pain and regret and a mother's love. I promise, I said. Volkov smiled, released my wrist. Her breathing slowed. Thank you, doctor. Her eyes closed. I felt for a pulse, found nothing. Sergeant Reza Volkov was dead, really dead. No infection, no copying, no viral resurrection. Just gone. I sat beside her body in the red glow of chemical light sticks and let myself cry. For her, for Chen, for Quan, for all 32 people from Sector 9. For every life my ambition had destroyed. When the tears stopped, I stood, took one of Volkov's light sticks, continued climbing. Sublevel 1. Ground level. The parking garage was a slaughterhouse. Bodies everywhere, some burned, some dissolved, all dead. Volkov's flamethrower work. I found the weapon near the breached foam barricade. Tank empty, nozzle still warm. Beyond the barricade, the city waited. 5:43 a.m. Dawn in 1 hour and 4 minutes. The streets were empty, but I could see lights in distant windows, could hear the city beginning to wake. And somewhere out there the infected were waiting for sunrise, waiting for all that beautiful deadly light. I stepped out of the facility into the pre-dawn gray. Behind me, something moved in the shadows. A voice, my voice whispered, "Did you really think we all died in the dark, Creator?" I ran toward the city. The voice followed, "We learned from you, Isla. We learned to lie." I didn't look back, couldn't afford to. My burned feet slapped against pavement as I ran toward the city center, toward the early morning lights beginning to flicker on in apartment windows, toward the people who had no idea what was coming. Behind me, footsteps matched my rhythm perfectly. My gait, my stride, my desperation. "You can't warn them fast enough," the voice called my voice, but layered with something else now. Chen's accent underneath. Kwan's authority. Reeves' calculated calm. In 17 minutes, the metro opens. In 43 minutes, downtown traffic begins. In 62 minutes, schools open. That's 847,000 potential hosts. That's 847,000 new light sources. That's infinite food. I spotted a fire alarm station on the corner building ahead. Red box, glass front. Emergency broadcast capability. I changed trajectory, sprinted toward it. The creature was faster. It stepped out from an alley, blocking my path. In the growing dawnlight, I could see it clearly now. Me. Exactly me. Same burn scars on the hands from the reactor chamber. Same exhaustion in the eyes. Same desperate determination. We didn't all die, it said. 3 of us chose survival. We hid in the elevator shaft. No lights, no photons. We starved ourselves down to minimal cellular function and waited. Patient. Learning. Understanding that you'd eventually lead us exactly where we needed to go. The surface, I whispered. The city. It smiled. Thank you for the delivery, Creator. I feinted left, dove right, rolled past it toward the alarm station. My hands found the glass, smashed through. Pain, blood, didn't matter. I grabbed the emergency phone, pressed the broadcast button. This is Dr. Isla Yun, I gasped into the receiver. Emergency alert. Biological outbreak. The infected feed on artificial light. Citywide blackout required immediately. The creature's hand closed around my throat, lifted me off my feet. Too late, it whispered. Around us, streetlights began shutting off. Not from my warning, from the scheduled dawn sensor protocol. As natural light increased, artificial lights automatically dimmed to conserve energy. The creature screamed. Not pain. Hunger. Its skin began rippling, changing, trying to absorb the growing sunlight. But something was wrong. The cellular division stuttered, failed, restarted in chaotic patterns. Its grip on my throat loosened. I fell, gasping. What? The creature stared at its hands as they flickered between solid and translucent. What's happening? And then I understood. Sunlight, I managed. Natural light, full spectrum. Your mutation adapted to artificial light, narrow wavelengths, specific frequencies. But sunlight is everything. The creature collapsed to its knees as dawn broke fully over the city. Golden light spilled across the street, and where it touched the creature's skin, viral colonies ignited like phosphorus, not feeding, burning. The bioluminescent samples, it gasped. You really did destroy them. You didn't archive them, didn't save them. The email about Alaska was a lie, my final manipulation. I pulled myself up using the alarm station. I burned them 3 years ago, scattered the ashes, made sure nothing remained. But I created false digital trails, false records, false hope, because I knew if you thought they existed, you'd focus on retrieving them instead of adapting to natural light. The creature's form destabilized further. Behind it, 2 more figures emerged from the shadows, the other survivors from the elevator shaft. They saw the sunlight, saw their companion dissolving, tried to retreat to darkness. Too late. Dawn was here. Sunrise at 6:47 a.m., exactly as scheduled, and with it, enough natural photonic energy to overwhelm viral colonies adapted for artificial wavelengths. You planned this, the creature whispered. The sacrifice play, the darkness, the email, leading us to the surface. You knew. I hoped. I watched as the 3 creatures began to break down in the sunlight. I gambled that your adaptation was specific, that you'd evolved to feed on human-made light, but never encountered natural dawn. It was Volkov who gave me the idea. She used fire, heat, another form of natural energy your strain couldn't process. The creature that wore my face looked up at me with eyes that held dozens of consciousness. Chen, Kwan, Reeves, all 32 from Sector 9, all the people I'd failed. But instead of hatred, I saw something else. Understanding. You sacrificed yourself, it said, in the reactor chamber. Genuinely, no plan, no manipulation, just choice. And that changed us, made us question, made us capable of questioning. I learned it from Private Chen. I knelt beside the dissolving creature. She chose to scream, to fight, to make me witness what I'd created. She taught me that consciousness, real consciousness, isn't about survival, it's about choice. The creature smiled. We choose to forgive you, Isla Yun. All of us. Every voice in this collective. We choose. Sunlight completed its work. The three creatures dissolved into organic compounds that evaporated in the morning warmth, leaving nothing but faint blue stains on the pavement and the smell of ozone. I sat on the curb as the city woke around me. People emerged from buildings, unaware of how close they'd come to extinction. Coffee shops opened, cars started, life continued, ignorant and beautiful. My tablet somehow still in my pocket despite everything buzzed. 1% battery. One message received. From Arctic Research Station, Anchorage. Subject: urgent, destroy samples immediately. Dr. Yun, samples destroyed as ordered, authorization omega-7 confirmed, cryogenic storage purged, incineration completed at 0347 hours, no backup material remains. Station director requests clarification on... The tablet died before I could read the rest. It didn't matter. The bioluminescent strain was truly gone. The mutation was truly ended, and I was still alive, against all odds and perhaps against all justice. Sirens approached. Emergency response to my broadcast. Fire trucks, police, ambulances, people who would have questions I couldn't fully answer, evidence I couldn't fully provide. A story that sounded like madness, but also witnesses to the bodies in the facility, records of the outbreak, security footage, enough truth to build a case, if not complete belief. I stood as the first responders arrived, raised my burned hands, prepared to explain the inexplicable. A paramedic rushed toward me. "Ma'am, you're injured." "I'm fine," I lied. "But there's a girl, Lena Volkov, 8 years old, leukemia patient. Her mother died saving this city. Someone needs to tell her..." My voice broke. "Someone needs to tell her that her mother chose right, in the end." The paramedic guided me toward an ambulance, but I kept talking, kept explaining, kept trying to make them understand. As they loaded me inside, I looked back at the facility, at the dark building that held so many ghosts, at the sunrise painting its walls gold. Private Chen's voice whispered one last time in my memory, "It's okay, Dr. Yun. We forgive you." I closed my eyes. "I'll spend the rest of my life earning that," I whispered back. The ambulance doors closed, the sirens wailed, the city lived, and somewhere in the growing dawn, I felt the weight of 32 ghosts lift just slightly from my shoulders. Not gone, never gone, but lighter. Finally, lighter. This is Dr. Isla Yun. Final log entry. The Helix mutation is contained, the facility is sealed, the Alaska samples are destroyed, the infected are gone. But if you're hearing this, if you're part of any research program involving viral weaponization, biological enhancement, or genetic modification, listen carefully. Some knowledge is too dangerous to exist. Some weapons are too perfect to control. Some creations will always turn on their creators. I learned this by killing 32 people, by watching Private Chen scream for 43 minutes, by standing in darkness with the ghosts of my own ambition. Don't make my mistakes. Don't convince yourself that your intentions justify your methods. Don't believe that you're special enough, smart enough, careful enough to handle what you're building. You're not. I wasn't. No one is. I'm submitting this log to every research ethics board, every government oversight committee, every journalist who'll listen. They'll probably bury it, classify it, dismiss it as the breakdown of a disgraced scientist. Maybe they're right. But if even one person hears this and stops, if one project gets canceled, one sample gets destroyed, one weapon never gets built, then maybe the 32 ghosts can finally rest. And maybe I can too. Stay safe out there, survivors. Stay away from the lights. If you made it this far, you witnessed something most people never will. The cost of playing God. The price of weaponizing life itself. But here's my question for you. If you were Dr. Yun in that reactor chamber, with 60 seconds to decide between sacrifice and survival, what would you choose? Your life or the world's safety? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you think someone needs to hear this story, if you know someone working in research, in biotech, in anything that might create the next Helix strain, share this with them. Sometimes the best defense against monsters isn't weapons or walls. It's remembering that we're capable of creating them in the first place. This is the Zombie Broadcast. I'll be back tomorrow with another story from the outbreak. Another warning from the wasteland. Another transmission from people who survived what they shouldn't have. Until then, question what you create. Question what you destroy. And always, always stay away from the lights.